the way that the dogma is being used by these so-called extremists is actually more in line than more progressive Christians, because again, Jesus only cared about his fellow Israelites. It wasn't until Paul came along and said that Gentiles were grafted in, but that we can't get too big for our britches because we can get snapped off just as easily, or whatever the metaphor is for being grafted onto the tree. This book wasn't written for us. This book wasn't meant for us. The book lays out very clearly the blueprint for how to treat others. I don't remember all the verses offhand, but I know they talk about like meat that you can sell to Gentiles that you wouldn't sell to your fellow Israelites, like just to treat them differently, to not have interest on your fellow brother, not have an interest on their loan, but you can do that to the Gentiles. You can enslave the Gentiles, but you can't enslave your fellow Israelites. They have to be indentured servants. The whole verse about kidnapping a man does not mean that you can't own slaves. You can't steal a card, but you can still buy a card. So that doesn't mean that slavery wasn't condoned in the Bible. Like I hate when people bring up that verse because it's not the same thing, right?
Yeah,
But
I think it's a challenge with that perspective of slavery. Yeah, with the Bible. Yeah.
it's not the only challenge is wanting to hold on to a dogma that allowed your ancestors to be enslaved for over 400 years. The challenge is to have love for this deity that sat back and watched women be bred over and over again. The only challenge is to know that over in Congo, women had to, like, one woman had her child ripped from her arms so that she can carry whatever resources from one encampment to the other while her baby laid in the grass. The only challenge is knowing that children who were marched up and down were whipped with dried rhinoceros hide to the point that when they finally got to their destination, they unalived, but they were baptized beforehand, so now they're little angels in heaven praying for the king. The only challenge is seeing that our people are getting raped and our land is being taken over and over again. There are menicides of varying types happening back then and to this day. They are erasing us from history. They are erasing us off of websites. We are losing our jobs en masse. We are losing our rights en masse, all because they hate us for being us, and they use this book to justify it. But because it was shoved and beaten into our ancestors to the point that we think it belongs to us when it doesn't, but because it does give some people a sense of comfort and solace, because it is a coping strategy when times are hard and you don't know where else to go, because our native language and our native rituals and our native gods are stripped so thoroughly from us that this is all we know, that we fight tooth and nail to make it make sense. That is the challenge. That is the challenge with trying to make sense of this religion. Because we don't know ourselves. Because we have people thinking that we're fucking Israelites, that we're the true Israelites. We got Deuteronomy spewing out of their mouths. If I hear one more person say Deuteronomy chapter 28 one more time, if I hear someone say that they are a fucking native of this country and they look like me one more time, because our culture was robbed from us, that we need to get DNA tests to know where the hell we even come from, that's the challenge. Trying to make sense of this Bible where it says you can have slaves, I can fucking read. I got my degrees. I got my diploma. It says you can make slaves of the nations around you. And then they took that same dogma and said, oh, you know what? Doctrine of discovery. There are no Christians among here. So this land is uninhabited. So we will take this shit for ourselves. And all of those lands were full of black and brown people. That's the challenge. I need a minute.
That was a word, Sandra. Thank you.